What is the most awkward situation you have found yourself in with your parents? Edit. First the front page, then the world. The stories are great, keep them coming. Edit 2. This has kept me entertained all day. I love you, Reddit execs. Mine was when I was 13. My parents were going away and I was getting ready for a fapoton by grabbing as much porn as I could off the internet. Videos, images, around 10 GBs worth of unholy media. The night before they went away, they went out for a meal and I unloaded the mini smish from its holster, but after opening one of my videos my computer froze up and I decided to just grab a pizza and crash on the chair. I fell asleep and had beautiful dreams about fucking bitches. I woke up about 2 hours later groggy and with late evening wood and headed to my bed. My parents came back about 2 hours later. Their footsteps and drunken laughter woke me into a half-awake state. With a faint groaning noise in the background growing increasingly louder, I drifted gently back off to sleep. Fuck. My porn from earlier in the night had arisen from the dark corners of computer lag and screamed for attention from my now very loud speakers. With my parents on their way up the stairs and me now realizing my erect fella had grown increasingly larger, I jumped out of bed stark bollock naked and ran to the computer. It was at this point my parents had decided to check on me. My door swung open and I in my naked fully erect glory stood emotionless in the center of my room. I only managed to stifle a "did you have a goo?" before I was interrupted by "I want your cock inside me" from my then deafening speakers. Now you go. Use it too. It was the first time I was wine drunk with some relatives. I only remember bits and pieces, but the part I remember was horrifying. I have a Playboy collection and for some reason I wanted to jack off really bad. My room was being used as the coat room and the bathroom in my basement was taken, so I head to the upstairs restroom with my magazine strapped in my belt under my shirt. As I reach the top of the stairs my stepmom asks, "Where are you going to up?" When I turn to reply my Carmen Electra winter issue Playboy falls from its hiding place. Suffice to say this story is still talked about at family gatherings 5 years later, and, user 3 the icy hot incident, I was a young 14 years old and I had just finished a long football practice. That night I applied some icy hot to my inner thigh because I got a nasty bruise. I went to bed without washing my hands. Next thing I know I am itching my crotch. Then like a rocket engine was burning my crotch. I leapt out of bed in a panic, knocking shit over, doing an awkward potty dance. I ran to the bathroom and jumped into the shower fully clothed, with my junk hanging out. The shower nozzle pointed directly at my crotch and me vigorously rubbing my crotch. My mother was alerted by all the commotion. My mother walks in the open bathroom door and I am spraying down my balls and rubbing vigorously and my mom just stands there with her mouth open. I notice her staring at me and I look at her and the only thing I can mutter is "get out." The next day in the car she asked me if everything was okay. The only words I said were "I see hot." My mom busted out laughing for a good 10 minutes. I'll never live that one down. And, user for I was 15 and playing a game of StarCraft before band practice when I decided I had time for a quick fap before I had to leave. As I'm getting into it my mom pokes her head in my room and asks if I'm ready to go. She can only see me from the shoulders up because the big CRT was in the way, but she did see my eyes go wide with fright as I stammered incoherently. She stepped into the room to see what was going on and saw 1, my dick in my hand, 2, StarCraft on my screen. What she didn't see was the Playboy on the desk. "Are you masturbating to your game?" Lost for words, all I could do was point at the Playboy, after which she sighed and said just get ready, we need to leave. And, user 5 my 7-year-old sister, me, 17 at the time, and my parents were busy stripping the sheets off of their bed during a house cleaning day. My sister saw something fly out of the sheets, and she picked it up. It was a travel-sized bottle of lube and it was half empty. Of course, she brought it to me. "What's this?" My parents look over, horrified. The combination of 1. My parents staring at me to see if I recognize what it is. 2. Me trying not to give away that I totally know what it is because I bought it a week ago and mysteriously lost it. 3. Me realizing that my parents found my lube and used it. 4. Me and my dad both reaching for it at the same time. Made it the most awkward 20 seconds with my parents that I've yet experienced. And, user 6 my dad loved barging into my room with a joking "what's going on in here?" One time me and my girlfriend were getting intimate on my coffee table, doing some strange experimental positions that she found in a Kama Sutra book, and my dad bursts through the door. "What's going on?" "Oh, sorry, my bad, I lost my erection and we didn't end up finishing having sex." But from then on it was, "Knock knock, hello, are you in there?" And, user 7 my parents got in the hot tub naked every night. I ignored them, but I had a friend over and she wanted to spy on them. She was peeping through the blinds from upstairs and I was rolling my eyes, but the worst was that my parents came straight up when they got out, told us that they could see the blind opening every time, and laughed at us for being peeping idiots. And, user 8, when Titanic first came out I was dragged along to see it with my family, sat in the middle of a row, sandwiched between my mother's parents. I sulked for a while, and then Kate Winslet's clothes came off. Bear in mind the internet and free porn wasn't even a thing for a lot of us back then. I had certainly never been with a girl by that point. I don't think I had ever been more deliriously turned on than I was at that moment. I was trembling, and my trousers were threatening to tear at the seams. Fussy old Victorian mentality grandparents on each side, packed so close I couldn't move without our arms brushing together. Most uncomfortable boner ever. I have never been so relieved to see a ship hit an iceberg. And, user 9, when I was a young lad I googled sexy woman and started printing some random chick with a bikini. Right as I press print my parents come back in the house and I unplug the printer and run upstairs. 5 minutes later my dad walks in and just drops the printed paper on my desk. I could have gone through the ground, but now that I think about it it's funny. Luckily my parents had a good laugh. And, user 10, and, user 11, oh man, I almost forgot about this. So I had a steady relationship senior year of high school with this girl who had very overprotective parents. The girl was a junior, must have been 16 at the time, and her parents had no idea that we were having sex, but definitely suspected something. How did I know that they suspected something? Well, this girl lived in the finished basement, so her parents would always come check in on us at least once every time we were down there. We could hear her when she started walking down the stairs, so we always knew we had about 10 seconds to buckle up, but we had to keep the door open at all times. So one day, me and the girlfriend are having some fun on her bed, trying to be quiet, under the covers. Well, don't ya know it, the mom decides to try and sneak down the stairs without making any noise. As it so happens, she was quite successful at making no noise coming down the stairs, well, until she tripped from the fourth to last step, fell down the stairs, and broke her ankle. To top it off, when she fell, she landed right at the entrance to my girlfriend's door. Remember, the door must always be open rule? Yeah, the bed is in plain view from the door. So now my girlfriend's mother is lying on the floor, howling in pain, looking directly at me stuffing her daughter's vajayjay. Everyone else in the house came running when they heard the crash and the scream, so I knew I was fucked. Needless to say, the ride to the emergency room was probably the most awkward situation I've ever been in, and got an earful from her parents about safe sex and all that bullshit. Hey, why don't you practice safe walking down the stairs? TLDR, girlfriend's mom fell down the stairs trying to catch us fucking and broke her ankle. Bonus. Another time, with a different girlfriend, we couldn't throw away condoms because we didn't want the wrappers to be found in the garbage. What does a 16-year-old me think is a great idea? Flush them down the toilet. They flush fish and shit. Why not a condom? Well, I quickly found out that they don't always stay down, and can pop back up in the toilet, even when your girlfriend's mom is about to use it. She then proceeded to call my mom and fill her in on the whole story, who at the time had no idea I was having sex. That was awesome. TLDR2, condoms float. And, user 12, a couple years back my family's driving south along the highway and we always stop by at this Indian restaurant because they make damn good Indian food. However, it's a Tuesday night and the place is empty. I've never been there and seen more than 2 tables occupied at a time. How the hell do they stay open? I have no clue. Anyway, we order a bunch of food and we're sitting around, terping and eating on when this large woman who is a couple lbs shy of using a mobility scooter comes waddling through the doorway like an oak tree in a windstorm. Behind her is a meek-looking, skinny 15-year-old blonde girl carrying a boombox. She announces, my daughter, Kismet, will be doing belly dancing for the evening, so sit back and enjoy. And my family looks at one another with slight confusion and discomfort. She sets the boombox down and turns it on. Crappy Indian pop fills the empty restaurant while she begins to shake everything her mama gave her, which isn't much because she's 14 years old. Jesus Christ. My family and I sit there, trying not to show the whites of our eyes as we stifle the laughter and stress vomit. I was about 19 at the time and unfortunately the youngest person at the table, so Kismet kept all her eye contact on me. She was attempting some sort of weird hypersexualized hybrid belly dancing, like a mixture of Shakira and electrification. All that was missing was the Toys R Us stripper pole. The scene was quickly giving me indigestion. It's a little stressful to be eating a meal while a half-naked teenager burns a hole into your forehead with her eyes and wriggles around the place like a drowning worm, and my dad wasn't making it any easier. He elbowed me, laughing, and pushed $1 over to me. Hey, you should give this to her. I bet she'd give you her number at some point. I glance up and look at the mother. She's also looking straight at me, melting into her booth seat and drinking a beer. She had that look on her face that she was disappointed that we weren't tipping her and that this was a major waste of her time. She never looked over at her daughter, only at us. This went on for half an hour, in an empty restaurant in the middle of nowhere. I can't even begin to imagine what was going through the girl's mind. The sadness and shame that this mother was putting her daughter through while we sat there and ate. It was like mixing the horror of a child beauty pageant with the awkward despair of one's last meal on death row. My family was quick to notice that Kismet had been staring at me most of the time. They spent the last 2 hours of the car ride commenting on how I should have gone over and talked to her. And it was a pity that I didn't offer her a tip while holding the money in my teeth. Yeah, pretty much ruined the word Kismet for me. TLDR, Ogia forces us to watch her belly dancing slave wiggle for our amusement while we eat Indian food in an empty restaurant in the heart of bumfuck nowhere. And, user 13, I remembered when I was younger the only video player in the house was the one in my mother's room. I had a pornographic video, Savage Fury RI, with Christy Canyon and Ron Jeremy in it. I got horny one time and decided to go and watch it in her room. So I was there, sweatpants around my ankles, beating Winky the one-eyed milk-spitting tunnel ferret, oblivious to the world around me. In my horny stupor I didn't hear my mother come up the stairs, carrying the washing. It was too late. By the time I saw her shadow cast against the adjacent wall, through the partially open door, I was involved in some savage fury of my own. She walked in, saw me and did a complete 180, leaving the room as fast as she entered, still carrying the washing. I scrambled to pull up my sweatpants and dashed for the door. By the time I got to the top of the stairs my mother was already at the bottom. Why had I rushed to the stairs? What was my reasoning? I stood there, looking at my mother for a few seconds, mind blank. What's for dinner? I blurted out, failing to act cool, irrationally thinking this innocent question would somehow negate the whole experience. It didn't. I can't even remember her answer. I was so embarrassed. Edit. And there you have it. My highest rated post ever. Thanks to whoever enjoyed my pain, you sadistic bastards. And, thanks for watching. Please give a like if you enjoyed the video and hit subscribe if you want to see more. See you later.